All right, let's dive into the philosophy behind the International Baccalaureate's Middle Years program for Language and Literature. We're going to break down the why behind the curriculum and the exact skills it's designed to build. So let's get right into it.
And I want to start with this really powerful idea from the poet Octavio Paz. Language is what makes us human. You know, this isn't just a nice-sounding quote. It's the absolute core belief that shapes this entire program.
So, before we get into the nitty-gritty of language and literature itself, we need to take a step back and understand the bigger picture. We have to look at the why that drives the whole IB organization.
And here's the thing you've got to get. Everything that happens in an IB classroom is guided by this mission. It's about shaping young people who are not just smart, but also curious and kind. The ultimate goal? To help create a better, more peaceful world through understanding different cultures, and to nurture students who are passionate, compassionate, and will keep learning their whole lives. This mission, it's really the North Star for everything they do.
Okay, so with that big mission in mind, let's zoom right in on language and literature and the absolutely central role it plays in making all of that happen. This leads us to a core philosophy of the program, and it's a big one. In the IB, all teachers are language teachers. So what does that mean? It means language isn't just some subject in a box. It's seen as the fundamental tool for all thinking, all learning, all communication. It runs through every single subject.
And this philosophy gets put into practice by developing these 6 skill areas together. Listening, speaking, reading, writing, viewing, and presenting, they're not taught separately. Nope, they're all woven together, creating an environment where students are always actively investigating ideas and thinking about what they're learning.
All right, now we're going to get down to the real building blocks. The 4 specific objectives that give the entire MYP Language and Literature course its structure, from learning to assessment.
First up is Objective A, analysis. The best way to think about this is like being a detective. Seriously, it's all about taking a text apart, could be a poem, an ad, a movie, whatever, and figuring out the choices the creator made, how all the pieces fit together, and the impact it all has on you, the audience.
Next, we have Objective B, organizing. So if analyzing is about being a detective, organizing is like being an architect. This is the skill of building your own ideas into a solid, clear, and logical structure that people can actually follow.
Then we've got Objective C, producing text. And this is where you get to be the artist. This is the creative part. Using language to make your own work, written or spoken. Showing off your imagination and connecting with people by exploring fresh ideas.
And finally, there's Objective D, using language. This is all about the craft. It's about mastering the tools of the trade, using the right words, the right grammar, the right style, so you can express yourself with real precision and power.
Okay, so we've got these 4 skills, but how does the program actually track a student's progress? Well, the key thing to remember is that this isn't about one big make or break test. It's about a journey of growing sophistication over time.
Just take a look at this table. You can literally see that journey in action. Look at the command terms for the analyzing skills. In year 1, a student is asked to identify and comment. By year 3, that evolves to identify and explain. And by year 5, they're expected to truly analyze and evaluate. It's such a clear pathway from basic skills to really high-level thinking.
And the assessment model lines up perfectly with those skills. It's criterion-related, which is just a fancy way of saying that students are measured against those 4 objectives we just talked about. The focus is on what students can do, on how well they can show these skills, not on punishing them for what they don't know.
All right, let's zoom back out. We've gone from the big mission down to the specific skills. Now let's connect it all back to the ultimate goal of the program.
Because when you look at these aims, you see what the real endgame is here. It's about using language to express yourself, to think critically, to engage with all sorts of different cultures, and, maybe most importantly, to build a love of reading that lasts a lifetime. These are skills for life, not just for the classroom.
And man, this quote from Boris Pasternak just hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? It perfectly captures that transformational power, how studying language and literature helps us develop empathy and a much deeper understanding of what it means to be human.
So, to sum it all up, the MYP Language and Literature program is kind of designed like an hourglass. It starts with this huge global mission. Then it narrows down to focus on building 4 very specific core skills. And then it widens back out to create compassionate, critical thinkers who are ready for anything.
And that leaves us with one final thought. One question that brings us right back to the beginning, back to that core IB mission. How does mastering language,
really mastering the ability to understand others and to express ourselves with clarity and empathy, how does that actually help us build a more peaceful world?